Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood. You are watching The Political Vigilante. So there's been riots and protests for about the last 10 days, 11 days or so in Ecuador. And it's a very fluid situation, and it is just, they've come to some type of an agreement, but let's hold on. So let's just tell you exactly what's happening as I know it right now. This is Monday, roughly 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on October 14th. Ecuadorian government agrees to repeal austerity law that sparked protests as indigenous groups pledged to stop rallies. So I don't know if you've been following this. I just started following this. Susie Dawson was following this, and I started paying a little more attention to it. The Ecuadorian government has agreed to terminate Executive Decree 883, which canceled fuel subsidies and prompted protests through the country for 11 days. Indigenous groups have agreed to discontinue the rallies. So they introduced this executive decree, and basically, since Moreno has taken over power, all of a sudden he talked like he was a big lefty. He took over for Correa, who apparently did a lot of great stuff when he came into power, but then Correa got rid of the IMF. Moreno comes in, starts doing deals with the IMF. And you might recall the IMF's involvement in the Julian Assange. We're going to talk about that in a second. So here's what specifically these protests have been going on. Now, there's currently protests in like 12 countries all over the world. All of them very similar. People are losing social services. They're sick. They're fed up. Their government is corrupt. Their government is giving money to corporations and banks and the oligarchs, and people are getting fed up all over the world. It's starting to come to a head. Neoliberal globalization is really coming to a head because the 99% is really feeling the brunt end of the ruling class's toxic capitalism. It's coming to an end. There was an influx of protests from all over the country to Quito, which is the capital, when the government announced to set a sweeping austerity policies introduced as part of the International Monetary Fund loan package. When you see IMF, you know it's bad. The IMF, which is just like an arm of the United States foreign policy, that's what it's for. Here's what the IMF, when they made this deal, when Moreno made this deal, cuts in public spending were also announced, with mass public sector layoffs planned, an assault on public sector workers' conditions that includes having holiday entitlement to just 15 days per year. So this has been building up, and then finally gas went up. And people said, the hell with it, and they started rioting. Kind of like the yellow vests in France. There were all these things that people just the government kept taking and kept taking and kept taking. And then finally just the cab drivers, that one extra little thing that they stuck it to, they said, that's it. That's it. Neoliberal assaults on living standards created such political volatility that 7 presidents, this is the history of Ecuador, came and went in just 10 years. A number were forced from office by powerful street protests. So this rioting we've had the last 11 days is similar to what they went through in the 90s. 10 years. So what happened? What brought the stability? Returned to Ecuador when socialist Rafael Correa became president in 2007. His progressive alternative not only ended the economic crisis and achieved incredible reductions in poverty and inequity, but secured 14 consecutive election victories. How did he do that? Well, he got rid of the IMF. Ripping up the IMF rule book, people must prevail over capital and society must prevail over the market. So then Moreno comes into power. Correa's like kind of on the lam. And you remember, Correa gave Julian Assange, let him stay in the Ecuadorian embassy, made him an Ecuadorian citizen, right? That's what Correa did. So they had to get him out of there to get Julian Assange. Moreno comes in and does a deal with the IMF. Ecuador sold out Julian Assange to get U.S. approval for lavish IMF loan. Julian Assange's father said that. This came out in April when they arrested. So let's backtrack on that a little bit. In late February, Ecuador has reached $4.2 billion staff-level financing deal with the IMF to keep its struggling economy afloat. The socialist leaves. The fake socialist comes in. The economy goes in the tank. America probably helped screw their economy over. I don't have any evidence of that right here. I'm just speculating, just knowing how the American government and how the CIA works. They went, well, let's make their economy bad. So then they got to get this IMF loan. And what comes with the IMF loan is you better give up Julian. So this happened in February. They get approved for this $4.2 billion IMF loan. That's February. Less than 2 months later, Ecuador's president, Lenin Moreno, revoked Assange's political asylum. Oh, Graham, you're a conspiracy tinfoil hat guy. Oh, really? You can't get an IMF loan unless the United States approves it, upon agreement to remove Julian from the embassy. So a lot of the indigenous groups, people came from all over the country to riot and protest. They chased Moreno he had to leave. And they came to like, all right. And Moreno said, oh, I'll do this. I'll acquiesce. I'll repeal this measure that we said in the beginning. What was it, 883? But everyone's a little suspicious of him because Moreno, look what he said, oh, I'll defend Julian. And he bailed on Julian because of the IMF. So I just saw this on Twitter. There's a leaked video. It's all in Spanish, so I don't really know what it says. But this gentleman who is following it and added Unity for Jay and Susie. So he translate what it says. Leaked video of today's meeting between dictator Lenin's, that's Moreno's first name, so they call him Lenin, dictator Lenin's government reps and leaders of ancestral groups, so indigenous tribes. Ecuador show how the leader, Leonidas Iza, is telling government reps they want to put a clause if there is no agreement to the Decree 883 will not be eliminated. That was my warning to them 2 days ago, not to trust Lenin. He's buying time. So Lenin's plan is to make a national message on all Ecuadorian private media to say, I want to make a peace agreement, but the Kane does not. He set a trap for them. So this is the Organization of Indigenous Tribes in Ecuador, as I understand it. It's an acronym for something. It's in Spanish, so I'm not quite sure what it says. But this is what this person who's been following it, Jose Rivera, that's his Twitter handle. See this? See how they work? So let's review it now. The Decree 883, this is the IMF, the thing that they were mainly rioting against, that raised gas prices and took away all those social programs and food measures and all that stuff. So they suspended it today. So that ended the rioting. The indigenous groups that were leading the rioting said, okay, we'll lay off because you're suspending this 883. So if there's no agreement, the will not be eliminated. They will put a clause, if there's no agreement. That was my warning, not to trust Lenin. He is buying time. So please make the national, this is what they're going to say. And then he's going to blame them. I had tried, but they wouldn't agree because he's burying put a clause, if there's no agreement, the decree will not be eliminated. So he's got to keep the 883 because the 883, that's his tie to the IMF loan, the $4.2 billion that we talked about they got in February, which is approved by the United States government. So the protesters know that this is the thing, so they don't want this decree 883. So he's burying it in there, and then he's going to say, oh, I tried to deal with them, but they were unreasonable. Meanwhile, he's been using really hard military force. People, I think 10, 11 people have died, if I'm not mistaken. Thousands have been injured. So don't trust a neoliberal, man. Doesn't matter what country they're in, but if they're doing deals with the IMF, that's who owns them then. That's a neoliberal global. It doesn't matter what he calls them. It doesn't matter what party he says, what the country's parties are. That's how they operate. The IMF, doesn't care about, they just want power and they exert their power. The IMF is like the banking arm of the State Department. See how they do that? Folks, thank you for watching the show. There's no way they're going to show you what I just showed you on CNN or MSNBC or Fox or ABC or any other channel. They're too busy smearing Bernie Sanders to do that. Thank you for getting your news here. Thank you for watching me. I'm going to try to bring the stories that the mainstream media won't show you. But you'll also notice there's no ads here from big pharmaceutical companies and this, that, and the other thing. So I really need your support, okay? Please go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube's been unsubscribing me. Hit the bell notification button. I go live every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, and I will be going live after the Democratic debates. And on October 22nd, I'll be doing a political vigilante game show. I will live stream that. So please, like I said, patreon.com/Graham Elwood, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. If you endorse my videos on Rockfin or become a subscriber to Rockfin, I get residual income. And they're a blockchain cryptocurrency platform, which means big companies like Google can't buy it. And then join us on the road for the Progressive Comedy Tour. November, we're going to Australia. December, we're doing Los Angeles, and all these 2020 dates for the Progressive Comedy Tour are getting released at grahamelwood.com. You can also donate on my PayPal button. I have a P.O. box, a lot of great ways to support what I'm doing so I can keep this going. You guys have helped keep this show going. The reason I have 53,000 subscribers is because of you. The screen, I got a new microphone, a new soundboard. It's all because of folks like you for supporting what I do. Thanks for watching. Boom, you're making Gotham great again.